Today we're going to be reading section 25.1, which is on page 655. The objectives of this section are to distinguish between renewable and non-renewable resources. Identify renewable and non-renewable resources. Vocabulary. We have natural resources, renewable resource, sustainable yield, non-renewable resource. Did you eat an apple or a banana for breakfast this morning? Every day you eat food and drink water because these resources are necessary for you to live. You and every other living thing on earth must have certain resources to grow, develop, maintain life processes, and reproduce. In addition to food and water, most animals also need shelter. Think about the resources used to provide shelter for you and your family. Maybe your home is made of brick or stone, or perhaps it has wood shingles or aluminum siding. All of these materials come from Earth. Natural resources. The resources that Earth provides are known as natural resources. Natural resources include Earth's air, water, and land, all living things and nutrients, rocks and minerals in the soil, and deep in Earth's crust. Recall from chapter 3 that neither matter nor energy can be created or destroyed, but both can be changed from one form to another. You will find out how some natural resources are transformed in the science in the news feature at the end of this chapter. One way in which natural resources are changed is through cycling, as in the carbon, nitrogen, and water cycles that you learned about in previous chapters. Have you ever recycled an aluminum can? If you recycle, you are already aware that some resources cannot be replaced in a reasonable amount of time. If you have ever mowed a lawn or planted a garden, you know that some other natural resources can be used and replaced through natural processes in a short period of time. Both types of natural resources are necessary for life on Earth. Renewable resources. Do you live in an area that has an aluminum season? During the autumn, as the amount of sunlight declines, deciduous trees stop producing chlorophyll and become dormant so that they can survive the cold winter season. When the leaves of trees do not contain the green pigment, chlorophyll, many other colors can be seen as shown in figure 25.1. Eventually, all of these colorful leaves fall to the ground. However, in the spring, these new leaves appear and the trees continue their life cycles. If you cut down a tree, you can replace that tree by planting a seedling in its place. Trees are examples of renewable resources, which are natural resources that it is possible to use indefinitely without causing a reduction in the available supply. Renewable resources include fresh air, fresh surface water in lakes, rivers, and streams, most groundwater, fertile soil elements that cycle through Earth systems such as nitrogen, carbon, and phosphorus, and all living things. Resources that exist in an inexhaustible supply, such as solar energy, also are renewable resources. Renewable resources are replaced through the natural processes at a rate that is equal to or greater than the rate at which they are being used. Living things. Organisms in the biosphere are important renewable resources. Plants and animals reproduce, and therefore, as long as some mature individuals of a species survive, they can be replaced. Crops can be planted every spring and harvested every fall from the same land as long as the sun shines, the rain falls, and the required nutrients are provided by organic matter or fertilizers. Animals that are raised for food, such as chickens and cattle, can be replaced in short periods of time. Forests that are cut down for the production of paper products can be replanted and ready for harvest again in 10 to 20 years. Trees that are cut down for timber also can be replaced after a period of up to 60 years. Humans who use natural resources responsibly are practicing management techniques to replace resources as they are used. As shown in Figure 25.2, the replacement of renewable resources at the same rate at which they are consumed results in sustainable yields. Sunlight. Some of the Earth's renewable resources are not provided by Earth. The sun provides an inexhaustible source of energy for all processes on Earth. Sunlight is considered to be a renewable resource because it will continue to be available for at least the next 5 billion years. Non-renewable resources. Suppose you visit a fine jewelry store. You notice that diamonds, such as those shown in Figure 25.3, are very expensive. Why are diamonds so expensive? After all, they form through geological processes, just like quartz and feldspar do. Diamonds are expensive because the supply of diamonds is limited. When all the diamond mines that currently exist have been exhausted, no more natural diamond will become available. Diamonds are an example of a non-renewable resource, a resource that exists in a fixed amount in various places in Earth's crust and can be replaced only by geological, physical, and chemical processes that take hundreds of millions of years. Resources such as fossil fuels, diamonds, and other gemstones and elements such as gold, copper, and silver are therefore considered to be non-renewable. Non-renewable resources are exhaustible because they have been extracted and used at a much faster rate than the rate at which they were formed. Distribution of resources. Do you live in an area that has coal mines, oil wells, or deposits of bauxite, the ore that contains aluminum? Perhaps you live near a scenic river or a hot spring. Wherever you live, you probably have noticed that natural resources are not distributed evenly on Earth. The availability of natural resources help determine the wealth and the power of countries around the world. Countries with many natural resources, such as the United States, are able to support higher living standards for their citizens than countries with fewer resources. However, small countries may have an abundance of one natural resource that is needed by many other countries. Suriname and Ghana in South America, for example, have some of the richest reserves of bauxite in the world. Saudi Arabia and Kuwait have some of the richest petroleum reserves. The United States has a high standard of living and it consumes approximately 30% of Earth's mineral and energy resources each year, even though it has only 6% of the world's population. Some countries with larger populations have lower standards of living than the United States, and thus these countries do not consume as many resources. One renewable resource that developed countries consume in every increasing amount is crude oil. Figure 25.4, right here, shows the percentage of total worldwide consumptions of crude oil versus the amount in the United States daily.